I'm all for acting quickly and taking action, but it's like, if it's going to like over leverage you or stress you out financially, to be able to complete, then that's not a great decision.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mindset Podcast, hosted by Eric Nelson and brought to you by Wild Oak Capital. Eric is a real estate investor, business owner, and performance coach. Throughout this series, Eric explores the mindset behind why certain investors are so successful and how we can learn from their achievements and failures. Eric asks the tough questions around the habits, discipline, mindset, and more required to achieve the most ambitious goals. Thank you for being here and enjoy the show.
Welcome to the Real Estate Mindset Podcast. This is Eric Nelson, and I'm very excited to have our guests, Nate and Bethany Smith, here today. So if you guys could you tell us a little bit about yourself, what brought you to real estate, where you are now, and kind of the whole story.
The whole story. All right. Well, thank you.
Let's start from the very beginning.
So all right. Well, first off, thank you so much for having us on. Really appreciate it. It's always great to connect with other like-minded folks like yourself. So our background is predominantly military. My entire life has been Air Force. My dad was in for 24 years. I joined right out of high school. We met in high school, and then I've been in the military for 13 years now. I served part-time in the Air National Guard out here in California as an officer and a C-130 pilot, very part-time. And also throughout our journey, we were very entrepreneurial. We always had side hustles going on, always looking for ways to make extra money. And ultimately, I knew that was where we wanted to end up, which is a big part of why I ended up choosing to fly in the Air National Guard versus the active duty world, because I wanted to fly. It was a big dream of mine since I was a kid, but I also knew the military wasn't going to be able to support my bigger goals and dreams from an income perspective. So I needed other options. And so we started pursuing different things. We got into real estate really early on. I bought a house as soon as I could get off base. As soon as you first join, they usually stick you in the dorms on base. And as soon as I got off base, I bought a house, used my VA loan. Ended up holding that for about 8 years, rented it out. Didn't make a dime on that thing, but learned a lot. So it opened up our mindset to the potential. We saw the potential and kind of got into just some network marketing stuff for a while. Personal training business, like you name it, we've tried it probably. And but new real estate was going to be where we ended up. And so I'll let Bethany jump in here in a second as far as what she did, but she got into some residential stuff, and then we started following Grant Cardone and learning about multifamily. We realized that because we were kind of going like way a lot of people end up going, I need to start small, start with single family, do me a duplex or a triplex. And so us and Grant realized, you know what, it's not that much more work, but it sure does make a lot more sense to have more doors. And so we decided to make the jump into multifamily in the beginning of 2019. And which I should say, I say Bethany, she's been the primary go-getter on the real estate side of things. So we also have a financial services company that we run as well. So that's a little bit more of my main focus. But yeah, so that's kind of backstory from my side of the perspective. I'll let Bethany jump in and share her.
I would say as a military couple with that background, it's a little unique because there's a lot of frequent moves that can happen in the military. And especially in our case, we'd moved 8 times in 11 years. So a little bit more than average. Nate was in flight training, so we changed locations several times because of different things that happened with the trainings. And that's a really unique challenge as a military spouse to try to build and scale a career that's going to travel with you. And when we first got married, like remote work wasn't really a big thing. It wasn't a buzzword. A lot of people weren't doing it. So I searched really hard to find some remote work opportunities, and ultimately I was really interested in real estate investing because, as Nate mentioned, we had a home that we had house hacked or used a VA loan to, live in. And we had another property by that time as well, about 4 or 5 years ago, that was starting to cash flow really well. So as he mentioned, like the idea of having multiple doors and multiple units that, you can have cash flowing. So if one goes empty, you still have, so fourplex, you have one go empty, you still have 3 that are helping you cover your payment and other expenses. And then, cash flowing on top of that. So I got really interested in that. I had worked in residential sales. I thought I initially wanted to be a realtor, and then worked with a team and was like, no, I don't want to be a realtor, but I do really enjoy working with investors. And so that's kind of where the leap into commercial and ultimately multifamily came about. Was I loved working with investors with their mindset, their unemotional approach to purchases. They, I saw the cash flow they were getting, and so thought, this would be a great career to kind of segue into. And Nate was a big catalyst into that as well. He kind of, gave me a book and was like, you should read this about syndications. Don't really know what that means, but sounds like something we could maybe get you into. And so, as he mentioned, spent most all of 2019 just networking in the space and reading books, visiting target markets and that sort of thing. So
I'm a dreamer. She's an integrator. I'm really good about coming up with the great ideas and then kind of putting her in the integration role, making it happen.
To execute.
Oh man, that's like the dream couple right there. That's true. I'm like a dreamer myself. So I have to have help, it seems like always, because I'll be out in front somewhere and it's so nice to have that. So that's really cool. I mean, there's a lot to unpack there. So, you're in the military traveling around, and then you kind of mentioned that you have this entrepreneurial spirit. That's kind of, the word you hear. Where do you guys think that came from? I mean, seems like from what I've heard, you're kind of had that for a long time. Is that true?
Yeah. I don't know where it came from.
I have a hunch.
So here's my backstory. So going all the way back to when I was a kid, I watched Top Gun when I was a kid, and I was like, that's what I want to do. And I almost got to that. I was on the fighter track, ended up flying cargo planes, which is still pretty cool. But I was like, I want to fly. And for me to get to that position, I was putting myself, I figured out really early on, no one really taught me this. I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family or anything like that. So, but I figured out if I want to do something, I need to go find the people that are doing what I wanted to do and get around them. And so we grew up on military bases. And so I would ride my bike over to the different flying squadron on base, and I would just find pilots that would talk to me. I'm just a teenager, ride over my little bike, and I'm like, hey, who wants to talk to me about flying cool planes? And I just did that over and over and over again. And I built some really good connections who ultimately paved the way to getting a pilot slot and actually being able to fly for the Air Force. And so I think that mentality kind of built itself. And I started realizing, well, anything that I want, I just got to go find the room where those people are at and just go get myself in that room. And it just slowly started building as I got around more and more people of what options were actually available. Because for the longest time, growing up, I could not comprehend how I would make a living outside the military. Like all I knew, my grandpa was retired, my dad retired. I got a lot of my family were all military. So it was like,
I remember actually having that conversation when we were early married. He was actually very nervous and kind of scared about that idea at all. Like, I don't know what I would do. So I just, have to stay in the military, I guess.
At the time I was like, I'm going to do 20 years, I'm going to retire, or 24 years, or just, that's it. I'm going to be a life like my family has been. And I think it's starting to introduce different things. We did Amway for a little while, which was really good for like just mindset, like really opened our mindset, got us into personal development, got us exposed to like Think and Grow Rich and the magic of thinking big and those sorts of things. The business part didn't pan out, but the personal development part was so huge for us because it got us around people that were at a higher level, kind of the direction we wanted to get to. And then from there, kind of got into around the Grant Cardone networks, going to the different events that he does. And I don't know, the dream just started getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And now it's huge.
I would say too, one unique kind of aspect we have in our background is we were both homeschooled.
Oh, cool. I didn't know that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's this just kind of realization came on me very recently in the last few months, but homeschoolers a lot of time they kind of have to be self-starters. A lot of times they're not to stereotype, but they're larger families. So some of the kids in the middle get lost in the shuffle or whatever. So they kind of have to be self-starters and they're good at like teaching themselves things. And I'll say that about the both of us is we kind of have, I've seen that pattern in our lives where it's like, oh, we're interested in a topic. We'll just kind of jump in both feet and immerse ourselves in it to try to learn it. And then also the military lifestyle produces a lot of entrepreneurs just by necessity. Because, the frequent moving I was mentioning, that's one big aspect. And then let's face it, the government doesn't really, pay a whole lot for you to be able to do above and beyond just live and survive, basic necessities really. So if you want to do more things, then the spouse kind of has to work or you have to start a business or something. And then a big factor too for us that I think was probably the biggest like heart motivator to start a business is that we could work together. So we really liked working together on different projects and things. And we were like, boy, wouldn't it be nice to have something that we could both work at and have our individual skill sets, but work together. So.
Yeah, no. And a bunch of things you guys said in there, I think will resonate with tons of people. One would be, you weren't taught this, right? So I was kind of the same way. Like, my parents are amazing, would never say anything bad about them, but we never talked about money ever.
Okay.
And it was never like, hey, here's a way, aside from go to college and get a job. And it wasn't like even said, it was almost unspoken. It was like, that's what you're going to do, because that's basically kind of expected of you. So I think, you guys saying that stuff, even though your background maybe is different than lots of people's, it resonates with, you weren't taught that. You had to go out and kind of learn it, is what I'm hearing. So kudos to you guys. And then the other thing I heard several times was putting yourself around the people doing the things that you want to do. So that's really cool. And I've heard you guys say that a handful of times. So can you kind of speak to that? I mean, you briefly mentioned Grant Cardone, groups that are doing things like that. So you kind of like dive in a little deeper what you mean with that.
Sure, absolutely. So one of the biggest, I heard this question, got to ask it where I heard it the first time, but with whatever trajectory you're going, look at the 5-year room and the 10-year room and the 20-year room and ask yourself, are the people in those rooms where you want to be when that time happens? So, I look at people in the military, what's the 20-year room look like? Well, they're retiring, and what's that transition look like? Is that what I want? And for me, it wasn't, when I looked at it, like, no. And then I started looking at, well, where are the people that do have what I want, that are doing the things that I want to do, that have actually accomplished? The other thing I learned is, you should only take advice from people that have actually done the things that you want to do, because they have experienced it. Like, if you want to start a business, don't take advice from an employee mindset, because they don't understand it. So getting around those people really changed the mindset, because early on it was a struggle to make that switch. Because most of my people I was around were employees, they were in the military, so they didn't have that bigger mindset, bigger goals. Mm-hmm. So when I started developing that, I was like, well, my environment currently is quote unquote negative towards it, or they're not positive towards it. So how do I change this? I could either switch to that influence, because they say you're the result of the top 5 people you hang out with, or you surround yourself with. So I was like, well, I just need to surround myself with the people that I want to be like. So for us, it was forcing ourselves into, which is one of the reasons we did Amway for a little while, is because we're like, hey, there's people doing things. And then just started, looking for other opportunities, other networks. I've always been one that always started to go find, I want to go meet the guy in charge. Whether it was, at church, I want to know the pastor. I didn't want to know anybody else. I want to know the pastor. If I was going into a business, I didn't want to meet, I want to go meet the CEO, the head person, the squadron commander. Like, those are the people I would go to, and just skip everything else. And so that was huge. And so now it's everything that we're all about. Like, it was a little bit of a transition in the beginning, because I think the biggest struggle, if you don't grow up in that environment, you have to find that balance between, you don't want to disown people, but you also realize you have to start, if you're growing and other people aren't growing with you, you have to be willing to keep growing. And if they stay behind, they stay behind. And that's a struggle for some people to master and figure out. But I think we've kind of been able to work through that and not feel like we're disowning people that aren't choosing to go the path that we're going on. Just say everybody has their different paths, and this is the path we've chosen. So come along with us if you want, or if you don't, it's okay.
And the concept that's so key in that idea for me is that if you surround yourself with people that are at the next level and beyond, they're really forcing you, either consciously or subconsciously, to get to the next level, so that you feel like the smallest fish in a big pond, as opposed to the biggest fish in a small pond, which I think it's important to have a foot in both worlds, because you want to help people, improve and teach from your experience and, share all that. But then to be able to progress to the next level, you have to have people that are, either verbally or non-verbally helping hold you accountable. And like, yes, you can do this, take action, yes, you can make this level of money. Look at me. It was simple. So it's just like, it was cracking apart our preconceived, I guess, idea of reality, where it was like, oh man, if we can he was actually the first one in his family to ever graduate college. So that was kind of a big deal in of itself, for his whole family just be like, wow, you've really made it. You graduated college, and a pilot. Wow. And then for us, it's kind of like, well, that's, that was kind of a necessity. And now, we've accomplished this one thing. Now it's on to the next thing, because we had a network that was like, good for you guys. What's next?
Yeah. And that's so awesome. Cool. So Nate, you're still a pilot now, part-time is what I heard. Is that right?
Yep. Correct.
And it allows you to have the time to kind of do the other things you're doing. So can we kind of talk about that? You guys have, sounds like kind of 2 businesses, maybe more, help people with kind of financial literacy, helping people with their finances, and then also doing multifamily real estate. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep. Those are 2 businesses.
Yeah. We started the multifamily investing business in 2019, and we were super excited about it. Very passionate about the industry. Love it. It's more so my part-time focus right now. And then we run our financial services business together. But we quickly saw, getting into multifamily, that it was going to take a little while to kind of build up the level of wealth that we were looking for. It's kind of like a more long-term wealth creation strategy. And we really wanted to find a cash flow generating business that could be, that generator to then invest into real estate. And then real estate, if you have a sale event or refinance, you can pull the cash out and put it back into, invest into a business or invest in something else, but kind of have them feed each other. And so our financial services company, we started the end of 2019. So both of those that same year.
Yep. Awesome. The biggest thing for us is we're passionate about real estate investing, not so much passionate about the business of real estate investing. That makes sense. And we want to invest our money in real estate. We want the cash flow. We love all that aspect of it. And so we wanted to find a business that could fund that. So and I use Grant as my example, because he's the one that kind of got into all this stuff. But he has his primary business that produces all the income that pays for Cardinal Capital and all the real estate that he does. So it's kind of the mindset we had was, okay, we need to find the cash flow business that we're passionate about, because we wanted, we're a couple of things we really look for. One, we want to be able to do something we could work together on. We want to be in an industry and in a business that could have a big impact on people, not just be money generated, but have both, which is really important to us. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And so we found that with our financial business, and then it feeds the real estate. And so we're just passionate about the whole idea of just financial literacy, and that includes real estate investing. So it's kind of all together really was something we were really looking for, and we're fortunate to find.
Cool. So is it kind of unfolding how you guys thought? I mean, I think a lot of multifamily investors figure that out. Say, okay, well, yeah, I love this idea of syndication. It does take time. I mean, even to find a deal in this current market situation is really tough. I mean,
right.
But you can have all the pieces together and ready to go, but you still need to pay the bills. So is it kind of working out for you guys? I mean, is that business sort of able to fund? And, if you had to do it over again, would you change anything, going back?
The business is starting to be able to generate the cash flow and the income to be able to fund it. And, with our current growth projections, it will absolutely for sure do that for us. One of our main mentors in the business, and he's been doing real estate investing his entire career, all funded through this business. And so, definitely that's coming, and it's starting to happen for us. I honestly don't know if I would change anything, about our path. The financial business, if the timing was perfect. I look back over our lives, like the different things that have happened to us. It's all about timing. We're both Christians. We're both believers in like God's role in our lives and how He opens doors and closes doors. And I just look back, and I see if I just wouldn't change anything. Like this financial business, if we didn't get into it at the time we did, we wouldn't have done it. We wouldn't be doing what we're doing. Like everything just kind of came with the timing of everything has been really, really good. So I don't know if I'd change anything looking back, even if with all the knowledge I know now, I still don't know if I would change anything.
And we had a pretty extensive background of trying a lot of different things, as we'd mentioned, with different business models and things like that. So like practically we'd experienced a lot of that. And then also talking to different people, like he was talking about the 5, 10, 20 room. We did a lot of masterminds and just networking and going to conferences and kind of just feeling people out. Like, do we like their lifestyle that they're living now? That maybe they're making great money, but does the lifestyle work? And for us, we're very much looking for a particular kind of lifestyle. And so, it wasn't really like it kind of fell into our lap. We really kind of sought it out. And so I think that's a big factor too, is to finally find something that fits your personality and your drive, because both of us really wanted a business model that was limitless potential. Like we can grow it as big as we can possibly grow it. There's really no cap on it. And so to find something like that has been has been super rewarding. And then the aspect of multifamily that I particularly love is the opportunity to improve communities. Like, it's so fulfilling to kind of be able to see a community tangibly improve, or crimes diminished, and you can fix it up. And it just feels really great to be able to give back in that capacity.
Yeah.
No, totally agree. I mean, there's so much you guys said there that we could dive in for hours. I mean, one thing is success is so many different words, right? I mean, so many different explanations or descriptions or whatever you want to say. But for you guys to say that you want the life that you want, or that you want the lifestyle that you want, that's as important as money, and, from my perspective. And that's part of this is talking about mindset. Is what is your mindset around? Because, you can go out and make a lot of money. Lots of people can. You might run yourself ragged. You might ignore your family. You might, all those things, or give up some of your faith or whatever it might be. But I think it's super cool that you guys say this is the lifestyle we want, and that's valuable as well. So, so I have 6 questions that I'll ask, kind of like semi-rapid fire. And it's funny because we've already touched on a lot of these. So it might be like a repeat, but that's what we'll kind of segment into. So these are questions that I ask, and it's kind of me taking a stab at some habits that what I'll call successful people do. And don't feel pressured to answer one way or the other, of course, but it's just for fun. So first thing is, do you guys have a morning routine?
Yep.
Yeah, for the most part. She's more consistent than I am, but for the most part.
Yeah. Are you willing to share it briefly?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll share mine.
So I've fallen off the fitness bandwagon a little bit. I was really hardcore in working out at least 3 times a week, if not every weekday. But first thing, drink a big glass of water. It's simple, but it just helps me feel better, kind of, mentally, even. It gives a lot of clarity first thing in the morning. And Bible reading is huge for me. That's the first thing I do. It sets my tone for the day, gets my head in the right spot and what my priorities are. Just gives a lot of inner peace and confidence to go throughout the day too. And I journal a little bit. I never used to journal, but I've started journaling key topics from different personal development books I've been reading. I wanted to be able to lock them in a little bit better, and I'm able to do that if I write it out. So then it's kind of started into more of a journaling thing, where recently I've started doing a little visualization session in the morning. So instead of just writing down goals, I'll kind of write out a paragraph visualizing what our future lifestyle looks like, maybe what the perfect day looks like or something like that. And then getting some fitness in the morning, whether it's even a walk to increase the levels of whatever it is in your body that's produced when you have physical activity. Endorphins. Yeah. But yeah, those are key for me.
Yeah. My biggest things are drinking big glass of water first thing in the morning. It's I have it right next to, before my feet hit the floor, I slow it down. Other one big one is other than turning my alarm off, I don't look at my phone for at least the first 30 to 45 minutes, especially social media and that type of stuff. Yeah. The only instance where I will access it is if I'm going for my exercise. I usually try to go for a run or a walk or a bike ride most mornings. And so I'll throw a podcast on or something like that. So that's the extent that I check anything. And I do like to read every morning, of some sort. Biggest thing is for me is just taking some time, before you hit the day, control the day. So I think those are some things I like to do. But my routine is pretty straightforward and simple. Avoid the phone, drink some water, and try to get an exercise in. Even just going for a walk and just kind of, usually when I go for a walk or for a run, I'm just kind of what she does, visualizing and thinking about what it is we're doing, thinking about the priorities and things like that. So
awesome. Cool. Well, you kind of segments nicely into the next one is, what books are you reading, or what books do you guys recommend?
Currently reading Big Money Energy by Ryan Serhant, just came out. Awesome book. And just finished reading a book called Mastery. It's really good. Just kind of goes through, it's written by a guy who's an Aikido martial arts expert. And he's kind of goes through what it takes to achieve true mastery. And that was really interesting, just kind of realizing that, masters, they push through the plateaus. They actually enjoy the mundane practice to get to that level. You think of people like a Tom Brady or people like that. You look at the efforts that they put in. It's really interesting. There's a lot of articles that came out after the Super Bowl, all the little things that he was doing. teammates were getting texts like late into the night of like, hey, if you see this, we're going to do this, like just crazy. And I'm sure that's mundane, but, he understands, it's just that extra level of mastery. So those are two really good books that I've read recently.
I just finished the E-Myth, which was excellent. Yeah, really that whole idea of like building a scalable business. I really enjoyed that. One of our favorites is Max Out Your Life by Ed Milet. It's such a key kind of foundational concept that we've had in our lives, like the idea of maxing out, and living with excellence. But like, let's not, I think so many of us are surrounded by people that live kind of mundane lives, just getting through the day, earning a wage, living for the weekend, living for maybe an annual vacation or two. And that just wasn't the lifestyle we wanted. So we really resonated with that message. And so that's one of our favorites.
And of course,
behind us.
And of course, I love Grant Cardone.
Yeah, I thought Bethany was cheating when she was looking back, when she was grabbing a book.
Yeah.
I thought she was like, oh gosh. Well.
Which one?
Yeah. Oh, cool. And then the next one would be, do you guys have a coach or a mentor? And you guys kind of mentioned that earlier. It doesn't have to necessarily be one person, but I mean, now's a good time to give them a shout out too. But do you guys have someone that you have had in the past or have now?
Yeah. So our current business partner in real estate, Kevin Easterly, we call him our big brother in real estate. Just been invaluable to have his mentorship and coaching in a lot of different areas. But he's been a huge real estate and also business mentor to us. And we met through Facebook. We met through a Facebook group that Nate had seen. His Facebook group was titled 10X something. And so he was like, oh, this guy must know Grant Cardone. So he he messaged him, and long story short, we started talking, and then now we're doing business together. So it's funny how you can find those types of people,
Awesome.
And then the other two big ones. So Grant's always been a mentor from afar. I've been very involved in his networks and I've read all his books, paid for most of his courses and trainings and things like that. And then the other one is Ed Milet. So we're actually partners with him through our financial business. He's someone I've looked up to for a long time. I actually heard him speak at GrowthCon. It was like 3 GrowthCons ago. And I was like, I want to know that guy. And
he's also the reason why I was willing to listen to Grant at all, because I couldn't stand Grant, but I really liked Ed Milet. So I was like, all right, I like this guy. I can listen to this guy.
But
am I allowed to press in and say, do you kind of, you warmed up to Grant now?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. I wear his 10X stuff and wave the flags and everything, like total convert now. But at the time, all I saw kind of was the flash and his kind of rude, crude, socially unacceptable behavior sometimes. And I was just like, wasn't quite for me. But Ed Milet's a class act, incredible speaker.
Yeah.
And he was living the lifestyle that both of us, really were attracted to and would love to live someday. And so, yeah.
No, that's like bringing it full circle, like seeing somebody that you want to, be around and you see that their lifestyle and you say, okay, let's hang out with that person. So that's awesome.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What were we going to say, Nate?
No, that was just it. I mean, the biggest thing for us is, we sought out the mentors and we put ourselves in the room to get attention from those people. I've met Grant several times. I don't know if he probably doesn't know me personally, but I've met him several times. I put myself in rooms to where he could see me. And then from there, with Mr. Milet, we were fortunate to when we came into this business, it was right at the time he was transitioning back into the agency side of our business. And we were fortunate to come in under his agency and his tutelage, and worked really, really hard for the last year and a half. And now we're starting to have opportunities to actually get direct mentorship from him. It's been awesome.
It's definitely a key principle that we've put into action. Is we've identified the mentors that we want to work with, and we've honestly worked our butts off to try to get around them. So our real estate partner, he was like, you guys need to go to this event. It's in 2 weeks. We were like, okay, bought tickets and went, flew across the country to attend. And then he's like, well, I need help in this capacity. And I was like, I'll do it, So kind of doing the work no one else wants to do in some ways is going to set you apart and make them, pay attention to you. Yeah. So, but you really have to seek it out sometimes.
No, that's awesome. There's like so many nuggets there you can learn from. So thank you guys for sharing. All right. Next one is, what's the biggest mistake you've made in your careers?
Biggest mistake.
Well, and maybe, you kind of said before you wouldn't take it back. That's fine. You can say I don't make any, but the goal here is just, even if it's like tongue in cheek, what can we learn from that you guys have done? You said, well, I wouldn't do that again.
I got one.
I got one.
Okay, there you go.
The same one? Probably is.
So we made an investment 10 years ago in a coaching program in real estate that was extremely expensive and really over leveraged us. And we just didn't think it through. Like we totally acted by like gut, like, oh, this is cool, we want to do it. But like we moved within 4 months and it was just like really bad timing. So while it was a great program, I'm sure and everything, it was just really poor timing. So we just we weren't very mature, I guess, and just jumped the gun. And so I'm all for acting quickly and taking action, but it's like, if it's going to like over leverage you or stress you out financially, to be able to complete, then that's not a great decision.
Yeah. I think the biggest lesson of the timing was the worst part about it. So I was very, very focused on getting a pilot slot in the military, either the Guard or the Reserve. So I knew I was going to do part-time. And so that was my laser focus. Everything I was doing was based on that. And then we got the shiny penny that came along, but I was not giving up on that, the flying dream for anything else. So we got hooked. They great salespeople bought everything. And then, I think the biggest lesson I took from that was, before I make a big investment, take a step back and say, does this align with the priorities of what I'm doing right now? Mm-hmm. If it doesn't, don't make that investment. If it does, then make the investment, because I've made some other big investments that did align with it and then paid off much better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. To kind of take a step back and say, does this align with the vision I have? Does this help me get to year 5, year 10 room, like you guys were saying? Mm-hmm. And if it does, great. If it doesn't, maybe think about something else. So that's awesome. Yep. Mm-hmm. So the next question would be, what mindset tips can you give someone? And you guys have already kind of hammered it on like 30, but if there's one thing that you could say, or if you're new, or if you're, trying to break out of like a negative friend group or whatever it might be, is there any kind of tips that you can give to people?
Pay to play. Pay to get in the rooms around the people that you want to be in, because that's been the biggest thing that we've done. We've spent money we didn't have to get in the rooms that we shouldn't have been in, because we knew we needed to get around those people. And, we just trusted that the investment in us would pay off. I'm a big believer in the best investment you can make is in yourself. And so pay to play, pay to get in those rooms. Like, that's the only way you're going to get around some of these people and be able to start changing that environment. Like, just for an example, when the first growth con we went to with the grant, we paid for diamond seats, front row, most expensive ticket in the house. And we there's a billionaire sitting in front of me. There was a guy that owned 4,000 apartment units sitting next to me, all high level business owners and all people that several people we've become friends with and have opened up more doors. And so, yeah, it was a crazy investment for those tickets, but it's opened up incredible doors that we never would have had the opportunity to open up. And it's gotten us around those higher level thinkers. Because one of the biggest things that I think a lot of people get intimidated by is, I don't know that, I don't have that knowledge yet. And so it's daunting, and it's just simple. It's just knowledge. It's the only thing it's the difference between what you know and what you can accomplish. And so when we got around those people, like, for example, when we first got into real estate, we're like, we want to own 1,000 doors. And it was like, at first it was like, that's just insane. We haven't hit that goal yet, but that's our goal. And so when we got around somebody who owned 4,000 units and he started explaining like how it happened, it's like, oh, that's not as crazy as we thought it was, or when you talk to someone who's already done it and then they explain it to you from there, it's like, wow, that's simple to them. Simple.
Yeah.
One example I heard recently, Elon Musk was doing an interview. They're just talking about, he built a tunnel underneath Los Angeles, and I think it was Joe Rogan's podcast, but I can't remember exactly. And he was like, how do you do that? He goes, I applied for a permit, I dug a hole.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I drove through it.
And that ties into, I think, my biggest mindset thing I tell myself all the time is imperfect action beats perfect timing. And because I'm very much a overanalyzer, kind of analysis paralysis, is this the right decision, everything. But one thing my business partner has been really great with me in is that he's just a Nike guy. He's just like, just do it, just take action. If you fail or it doesn't work out, you're going to learn from that, pivot and tweak something moving forward, but you're going to learn from it. Otherwise, you're just going to sit there and never take any action. So we've applied that to any business venture we've brought on, any kind of project we work on is like, let's just get this ball rolling, and it's going to create that momentum, and we'll figure it out along the way.
Well, that's awesome. I mean, I completely agree. The best investment is in yourself. And sometimes people will say, well, I can't afford a coach, or I can't afford that seat or whatever it might be, when in reality, that might be the best money you ever spent. And maybe you don't even have it. You might have to trust that you're going to find a way to get it type thing.
That's what we did.
There you go.
Yeah. I mean, I hear a lot of people say something very similar. Just, all right, here we go. But I got to invest in myself and I can do it. So awesome. Thank you guys. So the final thing is where can people kind of get a hold of you, get in touch with you and connect with you? So, and if you have any other shout outs, of course, your website and all that stuff, but anyone that you want to connect with, how can they reach you?
Yeah, the number one place to reach us is on our website. It's yourcashflowcouple.com. You can access all of our social medias through there as well, and kind of learn more about who we are and what we're all about.
But on Clubhouse and Instagram and whatnot, I'm MF Boss Lady, so multifamily boss lady, and then
I'm at the real Nate Smith everywhere. Almost everywhere.
There you go. So yourcashflowcouple.com, they can see all of the social media, all that stuff from there. Is that correct?
Yep.
Correct.
Cool. Awesome, you guys. Thank you so much for joining me. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, Eric.
Thank you for listening to this episode of the Real Estate Mindset Podcast. If you've enjoyed the content today, please follow this show wherever you listen to podcasts. And don't forget to head over to wildoakcapital.com for more information or to connect with Eric directly. Please take a moment to leave a review or tell a friend about what you've listened to today. We hope you'll tune in again soon.